We're the Haitian studies, but Haiti, as always, most Caribbean knows, despite where we are, but we've always been a beacon for hope in the world, in the Caribbean, certainly. We've always, we are not afraid to be in the trenches, to take the lead and to face the firing arms. So we are hoping to work with many organizations, and I'm going to talk about something that's going to involve all of us. Now, I'm going to ask my husband to bring me the presents. I have those 5 questions. Whoever gets all 5 gets a present. Please do not use your phone. No Google. If you can tell me how many countries are in the Caribbean, and no deal, you're not included. The Caribbean is not included. How many countries are in the Caribbean? What is the largest island of the Caribbean? Which Caribbean country has a first and last name? And what year does Columbus reach the Western Hemisphere? I struggle with that because I'm pushing back again Americas, because we have to know where the names come from. I wanted to say this side of the world. What year did he get here, and what's the Caribbean island whose name means land of wood and water in the indigenous language? And you get a present. Bring me the bag, please, Steve. Oh, you don't need to bring the plastic. Just bring the Haitian studies bags. Any takers?
How many? The question?
There are 5 questions.
How many islands in the Caribbean?
Right.
How many islands in the Caribbean?
How many islands in the Caribbean?
Okay.
Takers, come on, volunteer. Listen.
Can we do any question? Or
Yeah, do see what you can do.
It says how many countries are
You have 3 bags.
Okay. So I'll do the second one.
Just do the Haitian studies bag.
Dr. Lily, the second one.
The second one, yes. What's the largest country in the Caribbean?
Cuba.
that's all.
Oh, everyone agrees?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's all you can answer? No gifts for you.
No gifts.
Who can answer? Let me see, who can at least answer 3 of these questions? 3, you get a gift. Okay, 3 you get a gift. The first, you got Cuba is the largest island. Thank you. Yes.
What year did Columbus reach the Western Hemisphere? 1492?
That's right. Correct. 1492.
Okay,
What
another
else?
gift?
No, I said 2. One more. Man, you gotta come take my course and Dale's course.
We're going to take your course.
You can be, but you get a gift.
Countries a lot more than you think.
You get a gift. You get a gift. Here are the answers.
Okay.
There are 25 countries in the Caribbean.
25.
Doreen, could you dim the light a little bit, maybe? Cuba is the largest, as Honorable Fushi mentioned. Haiti is Haiti Toma. Haiti is the country. It's first and last name.
Very good.
Of course, Columbus came in 1492, and the land of wood and water. I'm glad Buddha Clock stepped out. It's Jamaica.
But Babs, you should have known that.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Yes.
I was on the phone when you asked.
You guys have to come take our courses because you go through these drills. You, as Caribbean people, we need to know.
What was the question?
The question was,
Questions?
which country, say it
Let me
again
see.
for him, the country.
Here they are. How many countries are in the Caribbean? There are 25 countries.
Yeah.
The largest island is Cuba.
All right.
Haiti is a country with a first and last name, Haiti Toma. We say Haiti Toma. And Columbus arrived. Columbus got lost, and they ended up there in 1492. And the land of water is Jamaica.
Yeah.
Wood and water.
Wood
Yeah,
and
that's
water.
it.
Yeah.
You know that one, right? Oh, okay. So you'll get a gift. You know that one for sure?
I'm from
This is the Caribbean.
Okay, you can give him my gift.
As I was mentioning earlier, as I mentioned earlier, as post-colonial scholars, those of us like Dr. Byam and myself, who are post-colonial scholars, our work is questioning that experience and making sense of what happened. we push against names. Names are very important. Names was part of the colonial project. They came in, they named, they told me, for instance, there are no languages that they know in Africa where there's the word Africa exists. But the colonial agents, authorities, and etc., they name things. Naming things is part of the project.
Right.
I name you, therefore, I've made you my possession.
Yeah,
That's what Christopher Columbus did with Haiti. Because the indigenous population called the whole island Haiti, and he came and said, well, this is Hispaniola, this is Little Spain, it's for Spain. Okay, that naming. And of course, we know it happened in real life. Someone like Malcolm X, who changed the Muhammad Ali, which from Cassius Clay's, naming is part of the project. And many of us did not name ourselves. We inherited it. So I push against that. I don't use Hispaniola. I even push back on West Indian because Christopher Columbus got lost. He thought he was going to the Indies, going through West. So West Indies, although I'm not saying for anybody to change it, but when you think about it, it's colonial.
Yes.
Caribbean, I totally embrace because I know it's named after an indigenous tribe that lived there. It's part of our experience. It's part of our lives. But it wasn't just about the colonial project. Is about enslavement. It's about naming. It's about taking. It's about stealing. And we, as scholars who are thinking about this and want kids to know who they are, we have those heavy conversations at times.
Can you put it like that?
Oh yeah. Not because it's a little too dark. But see, you can't see the board
So
anymore.
You can't see the
we
board.
can dim it a little bit.
Dim it a little bit more, Noreen, please.
Dark totally.
That's
Yeah,
good.
no, a little
No,
bit.
But you can see the board clearly.
listen, the board is more interesting than my face.
Okay, all right.
Some
Because
of
we're
the
recording, that's why I was saying.
the meats, we have many, but we'll speak forever if we go through all the myths. But some of the things that I wanted to bring up is some of the myths we need to dispel for ourselves and others and our children in particular is that our history did not begin in 1492. It did not begin with Columbus.
That's right.
So we need to push back against those kind of myths. And also there's this notion sometimes that we are divided because we don't speak the same language. That's a myth we need to dispel. In fact, I want to focus, I tell my students that they need to focus on the similarities. Diversity is good. Everybody is doing diversity these days. We have diversity in languages. We have the Hispanophone Caribbean, the Dutch Caribbean, the Anglo-Caribbean, the Creole Caribbean, and the French Caribbean. It's diversity. It's not division. And there are ways we can build bridges so that we are even more connected or become more empowered as a community. Imagine if we as Caribbean could model ourselves like the Latinx community. Latinx community, it brings together everyone who speaks Spanish, wherever they are. Dominican Republic is right next to Haiti. That's Haiti's condemned sister. She's going to be there. She can't go. If they could cut it off and go, they would, but they can't. But it brings them together along language. It can bring us together in that basin.
Right.
We're bathed in the same water. So we need to find a way to build bridges and to strengthen our connections so that we can do more for one another. We are not divided. Yes, it's good if your kid, your Jamaican American kid, can sit and learn Haitian Creole. That's a good thing. If I can sit and learn Jamaican Creole, that's a good thing. And we are. In fact, the more languages you speak, according to the research, the more flexible your brain is. So encourage them to learn the languages in the community. Some of the realities that we need to tap into, because they are empowering realities, they are empowering ideas. we have the same ancestors. Our indigenous ancestors, whether it's Taino, Carib, Arawak, African from wherever in Africa we have, or Indian from the East, we have ancestors, common ancestors, and that should bind us. We have practices that are very similar. We all eat rice almost every day, for instance. Among other practices, you know, we have religious practices that are similar. I mean, I'm told, there are many practices that in the Caribbean that looks like Haitian voodoo, for instance, etc. And not just that, but we have practices that are similar. We have ancestors who are connected. We are part of the same geographic location. We bathe in the same basin. Basin in Haiti is where you bathe, where you keep water, so we're all in that. Our stories are the same. I was fascinated that when I finally learned of Anansi, and in Haiti, we call spider Anasi. So it's West Africa, and we have that in common. We don't even realize it. And the Anansi story is a spider. And in Haiti, Anasi is spider.
In Jamaica, it's Anansi too.
The spider?
Yes.
See? Look where it took us years to find out that we have these things in common. And those stories that are, those Anasi stories are very important, significant in shaping who we are, Caribbean-wide. We have the same stories as immigrants. We come here, I was talking about strategic flexibility. We're all ready to go because we're all in search of a better life, opportunities, because they've made it impossible for us to stay home. There's no place like home. I'd love to be in Haiti. There's no place like home. But because of the conditions, because of the excessive exploitation, they made it impossible for us to stay home. We're forced to migrate. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I know is similar between Haiti and Jamaica. I don't know how long. I was a little girl when I know Reynolds was exploiting bauxite in Haiti. There's a place called Reynolds. I never go to the supermarket and not find Reynolds aluminum wrap.
Aluminum foil.
Exactly. Where do you think they came from? Haiti, Jamaica. There's a woman who's a historian, a Caucasian historian, Jennifer Anderson, who wrote the luxury in America. I forgot the title of the text exactly, The Price of Luxury. And she talks about how the colonists logged mahogany from Haiti and Jamaica and all those pricey antique furniture that we can buy, they made with Caribbean mahogany. When you go to Europe, you see those panels of woods in the cathedral, wherever. Where do you think they came from? They logged them, they cut them and logged them out of the Caribbean. So they make it impossible. And another thing, I have to say this here, oftentimes they said, well, those people, they eroded their country. What do you think the colonists, the slave owners did? They cleared the land.
That's right.
To plant products like sugar cane. Sugar was king of the world. And the Caribbean was the kingdom. So yes, indeed, we have practices that have caused us, that have sustained deterioration of our landscape. But we didn't start it. We didn't do it. They came. And when you go to Europe and you look at Haiti, the chaos, it was only used as a plantation.
Right.
It was their field. There was no planning. They put a house there and then they plant all around it. And when it was time, they pick up and left. And I hope some of you read the New York Times article that came out recently. We'll be talking about that in my November conference at Brooklyn College. I mentioned the transnational practices. One of the things that I know we do is that we invest. We are the tourists in our own countries. We are important to the tourism in our own country because we send our kids to vacation with family members. We go, so we have similar practices. But instead of focusing on the differences that we have, I think we need to affirm our diversity and explore how to build bridges and connect despite some of the differences that we have. I'm almost finished. I know you're tired of listening.
No.
Okay, some dreams of empowerment. I think we can become more unified. We can unite. We can build on that. Sometimes, we're a bit rambunctious. Is that the word?
Yes.
Rambunctious. We can work on our unification to be a bloc so that when we need the vote, we can say the Caribbean is voting the next president of the United States. Okay? Or we'll connect with with other people, but if we need to think of ourselves as a bloc, as a group, so that we can achieve more. I think collectively and in our homes, we need to ensure that our children are learning about our collective heritage, the languages that we speak, the cultures, the cultural practices that we have, the histories that we share, and the experiences as immigrants that we all have. I think particularly those of us who have children and grandchildren, one of the things that you can insist to make sure that they know who they are and they continue to build on that unity that can make us, that can empower us and give us more, greater access, more representations, etc., and broaden the possibilities for all of us, is have them enroll in Caribbean studies. When they come to Brooklyn College, do a double major. Ask for ethnic studies, ask for Africana studies. They will encounter folks, hopefully you approve of who I am. They will encounter people like Dr. Dale Byam, who's a Caribbeanist. They will encounter people like myself, who was a post-colonial scholar, and can go into the history. We are a great people. The Caribbean people, and I'm not saying other people are not, but you need to know your history. And when they come and they major in Africana studies, they get a chance to hear about the African experience. That goes beyond just being slaves. They will learn about the slave experience. It's important. We still carry the trauma of slavery. We all know that. But they will learn about who they are, and when you know who you are, you walk taller. When you know your strengths, as well as your weaknesses, you know how to navigate the world better. And with a major like this, that's what your kid is able to do. Said, I know who I am. And they give a PhD in African. When I see, and I'm not saying no, everybody can study in the Caribbean, but I'm in a Caribbean conference, 25 people, 15 white people, 10 black people. We're supposed to be the majority. My own former boss is a Caribbeanist. He's a white person. I love him because he's a good person. His heart is in the right place. But if he can be a Caribbeanist, why can't my son, my daughter be a Caribbeanist? Why can't our children be the experts in the Caribbean? When I'm sitting across a non-Caribbean person who knows more about the Caribbean, doesn't mean I'm upset. I'm like, yeah. But then I encourage them to know. We all need to know. But we can make sure that our children, our grandchildren, and ourselves learn more about who we are as a people. There is power in that. And I have homework for you. Back in 1997, I was 34 years old. I was 34 years old, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Well, you know, because 1997, I just did it myself.
So everybody passed the homework.
Yeah, but listen, blood don't crack. I was 34 years old, and as the article said, I was a public school teacher within New York City. Actually, I met Una Clark as the Honorable Una Clark when I was an assistant teacher working for the Agency for Child Development that doesn't exist anymore. That was the city's arm that created the public daycare system for families who needed help in terms of sending their children for early childhood program. And Dr. Una Clark, the Honorable Una Clark, was one of the trainers. I was one of the women who organized in my daycare to vote Dr. Una Clark into the council as the first Caribbean into the council. I used to work at Flatbush Action Daycare Center, which is still in existence. It's at the corner of Parkside Avenue and Bedford. And from there, I went to school, and so on and so forth. But this is how long I've known Dr. Clark. So back in 1997, to go back to my circus, that's your homework. I went to the museum with my child, with my daughter, young daughter. She's old now, she's 37. And I felt the need, I wanted to be able to tell her about the Caribbean, and I wanted to see artifacts about the Caribbean, right here in Brooklyn. Why do, I don't mind traveling, but I'm a Brooklynite. I came from Haiti to Brooklyn, and why couldn't I take a walk or take the bus to a Caribbean museum with my young child to show her a story of the Caribbean? And I came back home pondering upon what was possible. And I remember calling a few friends. And then I said, you know what, I think we should do this. So I had this dream to open a Caribbean museum in Brooklyn. And of course it was public. It was public, but I realized no one has picked it up. And it's been on the back of my mind. I've traveled, I've been on the journey for a while, since 1997, but no one had done it. So as I was selected to be the associate director of the institute, the idea came back up. I pulled this old article. I said, you know what, I think if my office, in connection with the Caribbean Studies program, Dr. Byam and other people at Brooklyn College get together with some of the art experts, we can create a proposal and really realize the dream of having a wonderful Caribbean museum in Brooklyn for our Caribbean community. So they can help us teach our children about the Caribbean experience, about who we are before Columbus and beyond. So I've bought copies of the article for people. It was written in 1997. I don't even know where Joyce Shelby is, the person who did the article. You could pass it around. So my task to you, my proposition, and I will end there, is that I am proposing my office to be the incubator for such an idea. I'm inviting all of you to come together in the space for us to brainstorm, to bring the appropriate experts. Listen, we have a black mayor. We have a lot of people in the city council. We have a woman in charge of the police department, a black woman at that. We have even Clark in Congress. We have, I think we're at the right time for us to take this idea and make it a reality. Take that dream. It's a collective dream. It wasn't, because I'm sure I thought of it and I went about it and I got people, and I was young too. And I was young and I had to make a living. I was teaching still. But now I think I can use the space and platform that I have at Brooklyn College to bring all of you together and other allies for us to chart where, when, how we're going to open, cut ribbon for the Caribbean Museum in Brooklyn. It's doable. It's doable. I know people like Dr. Una Clark and myself, we've moved mountain to get to where we are. If you see where I came from in Haiti to having a PhD from the CUNY Graduate Center and have my name on books and publications, you will not be able to make the connection. You'll wonder how, but this is the Caribbean spirit. We know this is the Caribbean spirit. This is what I inherited from my African ancestor, from my Taino ancestors. You fight, you fight, you fight until the bitter end. So I'm bringing this baby back to you. I don't want it to be my baby anymore. I want it to be your baby. But we want to be helpful at the Haitian Studies Institute and create the space for us to have that conversation and to and to have a reception to cut ribbon at the Caribbean Museum, however, in the near future. I think we need to be time limited. 97, it's what, almost 10 years, almost 30 years actually. Those ideas, they are good ideas, and we can do it. We have the know-how, we have the experts,
We have the community.
We have the community. Well, the community has the experts. They have the people in the know, and if not now, when?
Okay.
And
Thank
that
you
is
very
it for
much.
me. A happy Caribbean Heritage Month.
Thank you.
And